In India's fast expanding digital arena, the rules are changing. At the center is Ashwini Vaishnav, moving beyond warnings and deepfakes to question the very economics of social media. His message is quite clear. If platforms profit from journalists, researchers, and creators, then revenue must be shared more fairly. And if synthetic media corrodes public trust, accountability must move at digital speed. So under tightened IT rules, major platforms will have to label AI-generated content, embed traceable identifiers, and in some cases remove unlawful material within hours. Just 2 hours for deepfake nudity or defamation. It is no longer simply about moderation, I believe. It is about consent, compensation, and trust, ladies and gentlemen, the foundation of any digital public sphere. And joining me today is Pallavi Chakravarti, our tech journalist, who is going to be having a deep dive with me, trying to understand what's the way forward. Pallavi, a big warm welcome to Front Page. How are you doing?
I'm good, Sudhi. How are you?
Very well. All right, Pallavi, first and foremost, I would like for you to just very briefly tell me and the viewers, what did the minister say, so that at least we understand what the context is.
So actually, he was speaking at a conclave, a digital conclave, and he said that the social media companies now they have to pay a fair share of the revenue. I don't know what he meant by fair share, but he said that basically the creators and the smaller creators or the bigger creators, all of them should get a fair share of the revenue from the social media companies.
So
One
my
is that, and
immediate question to you is, like you
yeah.
said, fair share. Who
Yeah.
decides fair revenue? Who decides what is fair and what is not?
Yeah, very rightly said. So as of now, we don't have a regulatory body, at least in India, which decides that there what should be the fair share between the companies and the creators. But as of now, considering the situation we are in and considering how government is getting serious about it, so there can be two options. One is that either the company decides on its own, basically a kind of following an Australian model, wherein they can be a government appointed arbitrator, and they can decide as to what shall be the revenue sharing model between the creator and the company. The other thing there can be the IT ministry themselves can act as a mediator or can lay down certain rules for the company to follow, which can be a benchmark for the creators. Now, in all of this, actually, in the absence of any rules, or even if there is a rule, now the issue is that whether all creators, because there are small town creators, there are bigger creators,
Correct.
influencers, what will be actually the bifurcation, who will actually benefit and who will not really benefit, and how far will they
For
benefit
example,
is
will
also
it
a
be
very big
based
question.
on numbers of followers that they have? I mean, these are just thoughts
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
have from the top of my head. Or could
Yes,
it
yes.
be with the amount of content they're creating, or
Yeah.
things like that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There will be a lot of parameters which need to be taken into account, because there are various like there are micro creators, there are big creators. So there is a whole segregation which the influencer agencies and the companies they follow. Now, accordingly, they will probably have to get down to a model which is followed universally by all the major platforms. Of course, there are a few local, or rather, I would say, India-based platforms as well, which are in different languages, in different regional languages. Now, what kind of model will they follow? Because we always talk about, when we talk about social media, it is always either Instagram, Facebook, or
Correct.
YouTube. So, but that only isn't social media in the country. I mean, of course, they're the biggest players. So they are anyway not much, affected or impacted by any rules which come out. The companies who are actually impacted are the smaller players. So now, whether these rules and how far these rules will actually be set into place, that we really need to we have to see that.
Okay, so tell me this, AI, as far as the takedowns, are 2-hour deepfake takedowns and mandatory AI labeling technically realistic, Pallavi? Or do they generally just risk over censorship and rushed moderation?
Yeah, I mean, see now there are a couple of points in that. Now, one is what is the technical reality part. So like when we say, like when these any kind of deepfake is flagged, right? Now there is the technicality is that whether it's a permanent or non-removal metadata, which is very at a very infant stage. Now, for a platform to verify, review, and remove a deepfake, it takes about approximately 120 minutes, and it's a very small window considering the at the speed at which you have to operate. Because
Also,
what
the
happens.
sheer amount of numbers you have to deal with.
Absolutely. So what happens is that it that kind of a quick update requires massive localized moderation teams or over reliance on automated kill
Correct.
switches. Now, are we ready for that? Do we have that in place? Is a very big question. So it's a great it's like a good dream to have, but how far it can be implemented. And also it also risks that there's a lot of for example, the government is actually coming in, and whether the people are actually getting to see, which is possibly not deep fake, but
Yeah.
because of a little bit of a you can say a doubt or some kind of a filler which probably the company is having, it might just delete it. So it's like delete first, ask questions later kind of a policy, which we are right now looking at.
Yeah, so it's going
So
to be a
again,
lot of knee-jerk
yeah,
reactions. It's a lot of going to be like act before
absolutely,
you kind of
absolutely,
think sort of a situation, which really is not
definitely.
great. It's a good initiative. It's like
It
saying,
is, it is.
let's go home, but we don't
Right,
know which way to take to
right,
go home. And you're
right,
constantly
right.
just going around in a figure of eight. Which brings me to
Yeah.
this. What about the trust question, Pallavi? Will stricter regulation rebuild public trust in the digital sphere, or could it just be a
Um,
shift which is too much power over speech towards the state?
So, yeah, I mean, trust has always been an issue whenever it comes to digital platforms. I mean, numerous stories have been done. Governments have been getting, particularly like it started with Australia. They came down with the ban on for the teenagers. So till 16 years, there's a ban for children. In fact, today Instagram has also, they have said that they are going to alert parents if there is a any kind of post about suicide, or for example, and if any
If
children is
you
talking about
ask
it.
me, if you,
Yeah,
my personal opinion, I think they did the right thing. I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
for our chief minister here in Karnataka, thinking on those lines is a great
Yeah,
step.
yeah.
I agree with
Ab-
that. You know, it's
yes,
the
yes,
formative
definitely.
years. You cannot corrupt a young mind. That's my
Yeah, yeah.
thought.
Yeah, so which is why I think because of the pressure which is mounting globally, in fact, US, there have been so many protests. Parents want social media to be banned in the US, or rather, if not banned, at least taken that 16 or the 18 years route. So Instagram has today said that they are going to flag parents. I mean, they're going to
Sure.
basically flag parents when if they see any kind of post which is related to suicide by any child, a teenager,
Or
or right,
anything
basically.
drastic for that matter.
Yes, absolutely. So building trust, I mean, I would say it's like a, see, social media has been a wild west kind of a thing. Everybody, everything is on social media these days. There is no, so there is the whole concept of a cleaner digital platform that probably definitely will help and build trust for the platforms. Now, the only issue is that what will happen to the power shift? Whether the government is trying to, so there's a thin line between actually what they're trying to monitor and
And
whether they're
control
trying
the
to actually.
narrative.
Yes, and that is where the whole discussion will lie, in future. I would
Do you
so
feel
digital sovereignty and all of that, which we talk about, that will come into question in whenever we talk about trust on social media.
No, but to be honest, Pallavi, I think it just goes beyond that. I mean, I don't know. This is just a thought which I wanted to kind of just spitball with you.
Yeah.
Do you feel an independent committee, or for that matter, with people who are a heady mix from the private and the government sectors, who probably have all the experience, should actually independently decide on the frameworks?
Definitely. In fact, the AI policy framework also, which has been proposed, which is just on the draft stage, that also talks about copyright issues and the same revenue sharing thing between the AI companies, and also the basically whatever stuff they're using for to train the models. So there also the revenue sharing thing has been talked about, And even today, the minister has again talked about revenue sharing in between social media platforms and the creators. So the narrative is possibly and should change in certain cases. And yes, we do need a regulatory body, both in terms of AI usage and also for social media. It is a long overdue, I believe.
Tell me this finally, in terms of your final thoughts as far as this entire development is concerned, Pallavi. What do you feel should be the things we need to be very, very careful about as we move forward? It's a great initiative, all right, but it
Yeah.
needs to also make sure that it protects the people who are genuinely going ahead and maybe earning a livelihood and without doing anything hanky panky. Also, for the same time, at the same time, I believe it needs to be very, very prominently layered, and everything needs to be defined very clearly, so that there is no gray area where people can go ahead and exploit. Based on those two things, what do you think should be the move forward?
Yeah, so as of now, we have only talked about that this should be done and that should be done. Now the question is, what exactly should be done? What are the rules? Where is the stopgap? Like as you were talking about, like what kind of rules do we need to really pen down? Which where how can we segregate the platforms themselves? Like for example, will the rule be same, say for a small social media, say based out of West Bengal or Karnataka, and Instagram? All the rules will differ. How would you differentiate the influencers or the content creators? There are very small content creators who hardly earn, who are even in villages. Will that person earn the same, or the revenue model earn defined would be same as, say, Kusha Kapila? So that, that differentiator, that those things really need to be penned down. What would be the guardrails that would be there? So I would say we need a social media policy, I would say. I mean, not really only talking about revenue. These are small, these are 1 month things, like, but if you say consolidated, even if you consolidate everything, so if we might just go forward, should with a social media policy, as many governments are actually thinking about. So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
we need it.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Pallavi, for all your insights. Of course, this is not a conversation which will end any soon.
Yeah,
Developments will
it's
keep
only
taking
started.
place, and of course, we will keep bringing Pallavi back as we see the developments carrying on only on front page. And there you have it. We would definitely like to know what you feel as far as your thoughts on this entire discussion is. Do you feel that it is important for us to come up with a policy which at so many levels does give guardrails, safeguards, to make sure that there is development and a healthy development? But at the same given point in time, the equation and the balance of it should not just constantly tilt towards control by the state. Please do let us know what you have to say in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.